Hi, I'm Rick.
Hi, I'm Oscar. Rick, we're going to talk about Blazor WebAssembly today.
Yes. So, for those of you who haven't seen the Blazor server part, let's first dive into what Blazor actually is. So, Blazor is a free and open source web framework that enables developers to build web applications, but then using C# and HTML. So, there's two major editions currently.
Yeah.
First of all, Blazor server. So there's a video online for that one already. And you can find it on our channel. That's actually where you run the application server side, and only DOM changes are communicated to the front end, and then the front end makes sure that it replaces whatever is changed. So the delta is processed.
And that one has been released to production, so...
Yes, that one is available in production with .NET Core 3. Yes. Together with that one, we have Blazor WebAssembly, which is in preview. And that's actually a single page application framework that enables you to have C# run actually in the browser. So your assemblies and the runtime is pushed towards the client, and then on the client, your code runs. So that's cool.
This is the promise of running C# in the browser.
Yes. So it's based on WebAssembly, and we'll dive into that a little bit deeper just in a minute. But the cool thing is, it's open, and it's a standard.
The WebAssembly part.
The WebAssembly part. So you could have that run Java, C# or Python code, and it has nothing to do with .NET Core or with Blazor itself.
In all modern browsers, WebAssembly is supported.
True. All modern browsers, including mobile ones. So next to Blazor Server and Blazor WebAssembly, we have three other promises of Blazor. One is PWA for progressive web apps, one is hybrid for hybrid solutions, and then we have the Blazor native, where they actually say, okay, so we have this renderer, which actually renders HTML, for instance. We could also have it render iOS text box when we're running on an Apple device, or a Android text box when we're running on an Android device.
Okay, so targeting native platforms, because the interface or the presentation layer is abstracted anyway, so why not hook up into that one?
Yeah, and if you look at timing, then PWA and hybrid are in preview somewhere around the .NET 5 timeframe, so that's November 2020. And for the native part, they don't have a roadmap yet, but they are actively investigating.
Really curious about that one.
Yeah, that could be an awesome solution. Please keep in mind it's experimental, right? But let's dive into Blazor WebAssembly, because that's what this talk is about.
Which is not yet released, so also there.
Again, it's in preview, it's not yet released. You can create stuff, you can even host it somewhere, but it's in preview. So Blazor WebAssembly is, as I said, a single page application framework. So it uses open standards, but it doesn't use plugins or transpilation. So no Silverlight, no Flash, no plugins. It just runs in the browser natively. And the fact that it doesn't do transpilation is because, for instance, if you write TypeScript and you transpile into JavaScript, which is then run.
CoffeeScript, they all just go to JavaScript because the browser understands JavaScript.
True. But with this, you actually write C# code that's compiled, that's pushed to the browser, and then it's interpreted over there, or at least executed over there on the runtime that's in your browser that you ship with it. So the open standard that's underneath is WebAssembly.
That's WebAssembly.
Yeah, and WebAssembly is a binary instruction format for a stack-based virtual machine. So that's the way that they actually run your code in the browser. It's in a sandbox, just like JavaScript is.
Yeah.
So that part is secure.
Language-wise, it's a bit the same level as IL is in .NET, I would say.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So, and it is designed as a portable target for compilation of high-level languages. So, for instance, C#, Java, Python. You could all write applications that target WebAssembly and then have them run in the browser. Okay.
So outside our .NET ecosystem, this is also a big thing.
It's a big thing, yeah. This is probably the next big thing in web development.
Cool.
So, if you look at Blazor WebAssembly, which is the ASP.NET Core Blazor implementation of a WebAssembly solution, you see that you write C# code files and Razor files that are compiled into .NET assemblies, and those are pushed to the client to be executed. So the assemblies together with your runtime go to the client. And for the runtime, they've used Mono.
Yeah.
They didn't use .NET Core. We'll dive into that just a little bit after this slide to see why. But in the end, it bootstraps the .NET runtime and it configures the runtime to load the assemblies that you need for your application.
Okay, so we're pushing the .NET runtime or the .NET framework almost fully to the browser before your app goes there.
Yeah, well, we're pushing, but we're only pushing the part we need. And that's what they call tree shaking. What they actually do is they shake the tree until only that stuff sticks that you actually need, and all the other stuff is gone. So for instance, if you pull in a namespace because you use just one class of it, you could just take out all the rest because you won't need it.
It's useless.
It's actually the same as Xamarin Forms does. As soon as you push something towards Android, then it also strips out what you don't need, just to keep your packages small.
I don't know if you're using reflection there somewhere, but I can guess that's a hairy path.
Yes, I can imagine. So by optimizing that payload size, as I said, it's stripping unused code. Also, HTTP responses are compressed, and the runtime and assemblies, of course, are cached, so that you only pull it in as soon as you actually have something new to pull in. And as you can see here, I made a screenshot of caniuse.com. Caniuse is actually a really cool website that you can use to see which web features are available in which versions of which browsers.
All across the board, like all kinds of things, CSS features and
JavaScript stuff.
Use it almost daily.
Yes, true. So WebAssembly or WASM, as you can see, isn't supported in IE, Opera Mini, and some proprietary browsers.
I think I've never seen Opera Mini with a green thing.
True. And it's also always all red. But okay, as you can see, all the big browsers, so Firefox, Chrome, Edge, EdgeDev, they all support this. So that's a good thing. Now, why did they use Mono and not .NET Core? I've actually looked up online because I've read it somewhere and I can't seem to reproduce it. But somebody said, well, they were just faster. The original take on it right now is that the Xamarin team has announced their plans to support WebAssembly to Mono, and that they've been making steady progress. But as I said, they're doing the same stuff with Xamarin Forms. So it's, as they say, a natural fit because they're already working with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and how those two teams are joining or not joining, we'll see in the future. But I think nobody knows exactly.
We never know what's in the future, right? So let's dive into a small demo.
You have a demo, that's nice.
Yes, you need demos, right? So here's the Blazor WebAssembly project that I just created. And as you can see, it has some default stuff in.
Can you create it right now in your Visual Studio?
A little. So
I don't see it in my templates when I do a new project.
Yeah, true. So what you do is you make sure that you have .NET Core 3.1 preview SDK installed. And then you need to have this little .NET command that you need to run just to install the templates into your Visual Studio.
The new template package.
Yeah. And then the strange thing is, because the first time you want to create something like this, then you can see that there's a Blazor app, and that's for server-side applications. You still need to take the Blazor app project template, then you click next, and then it says, okay, so do you want to have it server-side or WebAssembly side? So then you choose WebAssembly. Then you will get something that looks like this. And we also have the server version open here because I just wanted to show that right here in the www root, you only have CSS and a fav icon. That's it.
Yeah, because your pipeline that you host will bootstrap the application somehow for you magically.
The app is run server-side, and then whatever is needed is pushed over the line.
Yeah.
As we can see here in the WebAssembly project, we actually have an index.html file.
Because it's more spa-like build-up.
Actually, we have the exact same element name that, for instance, is used by Angular, where you say, okay, so this is where your app is going to be.
You define an element where your entry point for your application is.
Yeah, and as you can see also, that supports that inside of the element you can put whatever you need there for when it's loading. And then this is your actual HTML file. Now I'm going to dive into just the fetch data one, because this looks a lot like the server thing that we did. However, here you can see that instead of calling the service that the server project did, it's actually just pulling in a JSON file from the static files. And you will see in the demo that only the JSON file goes over the line, and the entire processing is done in the client.
So this is like all the other JavaScript frameworks just doing a get to get this data.
Yes, but then this is just C# code in a file that's pushed to the client, and then it understands what's happening.
Async and await in there.
Which is pretty cool, right? So the application is starting up right now, and probably you will see the first time that it takes some time. Not sure if it's cached, by the way. I don't think so, because it was pretty fast. So let's open up the debug tools, because then if you do a long press, you could take empty cache and hard refresh. Now we can actually see that it takes just a little bit of extra time because it's pulling everything over the line instead of only the thing that has changed.
It's pulling DLLs over the line, which look familiar.
System.dll, you can just go, that's awesome, right? And maybe a little bit scary.
Yeah.
So everything is going over the line here. And in total, we can see that it's 5 megabytes of resources.
Well, that's not the full framework, so...
We can see that there's
the linker
some shaking. There's some shaking over there. Then if we go to the counter, we can have clicks. And just to make sure that nothing is happening here, I can keep clicking this. The increments are done in the browser by running the C# code that actually increments
like
the
you
counter.
would do it in JavaScript, it's in this context. And in Blazor server, you would throw that event to the backend, it will evaluate and put a message back for your changing you're done.
Yeah, so if you look into the video that we posted on that one, you can actually see the Blazor long-running connection that's open
the socket
there.
that's open,
We can see the binary messages coming. If we do the empty cache and refresh here, just to show you that there's not that kind of stuff in here somewhere. So as you can see, these are the documents, some style sheets, some WASM stuff, and then some assemblies, and that's it. I mean, as soon as that's
it's like a normal SPA, only with a bunch of DLLs.
with C# code in them.
Wow.
So if we go to the fetch data, then we'll probably see a JSON request here going over the line. So this is just a JSON file.
Just doing the get.
And the entire processing was done in the client with C# code.
Cool.
Yeah. One actual thing that I wanted to show after this one is I saw that one, I think it was an index. I was curious what this thing was. So it says survey prompt and then a title.
Okay.
And I thought, did they really build a survey prompt thingy? But in the end, it's just something that's under shared. And it's like a user control type of thing, but then for Blazor WebAssembly. So this is actually a piece of HTML with some code that's being rendered on the location where it actually says survey prompt. So because this is a class, and you can see that it understands that it's shared.survey prompt, so it needs to go to the shared folder.
So if you have a shared folder, it's all convention based probably.
Yeah, you could have controls and stuff available, and as it says here, it's to demonstrate how a parent component can supply parameters, because in the index.razor you set the title, and then on the survey prompt itself, you have a title parameter.
Wow.
So that's also a really neat way to communicate between pages or between different elements of pages. That actually makes it pretty easy to build SPA-like applications, or actually just SPA applications, but then leveraging everything we know about C#.
And everything you learned in doing, for instance, Razor for a while, these are now actually Razor files and not CHTML. But all the convention is in there, so it looks really familiar.
Yes, and that's very nice and a little bit scary again.
Yes, you have to know which model you are, because I can imagine in some cases you really want to understand what you're pushing over the line and what you're rendering on the server and where you get your data. Especially if you're behind some kind of security.
Yeah, and you of course you also need to know where is the barrier of where your code is. Is it running on the server, or is it going towards the client? And you need to make sure that if there's any communication from the client to something on your server side, you need to make sure that it's secure, right?
I can imagine in this model you don't want to fire off some SQL statements directly from the browser.
That would be awesomely
But
horrible.
awesomely horrible.
Or horribly awesome.
I don't know. We can try it. But
Yeah, let's not.
that's not. The thing is that you need to be aware which model to pick when. But for a lot of just apps, open apps that don't require too much, you can really build fast, I imagine.
Yeah, and
Or
another
internal
thing,
web applications or
yes,
whatever.
because one of the things I'm seeing with a lot of customers is that they would like to have spa-like applications, but they just don't know how because they don't have the knowledge of all the frameworks that are out there, like React or Vue or Angular.
Yeah. And they want to get the newest, hottest thing, and they're also starting a new project, so the risks are all about this stuff they know.
Yeah.
So if they just knew the project, or even a POC for now, because they have big aspirations later, this is really fast.
It is, and it might just change the way we write applications in the future, or at least web applications.
Looks really cool.
Cool.
Thank you for this.
Thank you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.